welcome to my shop. My name is Guy, and the nice folks at Incra sent me 3 of their miter gauges and their crosscut sled to talk to you about today. So let's take a closer look at these. The first model is the V27, and this has a 15 3/4 inch glide lock miter bar. It also has 27 indexable stops along its protractor head with special stops at 22.5 degrees at both sides of 0. This is a great miter gauge and can be used on the table saw, but it's also perfect as a second miter gauge for use with your router table, your belt sander, or your bandsaw. The next model is the V120. This has the same 15 3/4 inch glide lock miter bar that the V27 has, but you get a much higher resolution on this. Instead of indexable stops at every 5 degrees, there's indexable stops at every degree, giving you a total of 120 indexable stops, with special stops again at 22.5 at either side of 0. Because of the resolution of 1 degree increments on this, this is the perfect replacement for the miter gauge that came with your table saw. Now this is the Mitre 1000 HD. It comes with the 17 3/4 inch glide lock miter bar and 180 indexable pins along the length of its protractor head, going 90 degrees each side of 0. Now like the name implies, it's Mitre 1000 HD. The HD means high definition. Now the resolution on this is a 1 degree along its protractor head. The nice thing about this model is it comes with this vernier cursor right here, and when placed up against here, you can actually adjust this in 1/10 of a degree increments. The Mitre 1000 HD also comes with this telescopic aluminum fence. It's a full 18 inches long, and this end can be pulled out to give you a full 31 inches of support for a longer workpiece. An incredible useful feature on this fence is it includes this, which is a scale on top that actually goes down to a 32nd of an inch. That works in conjunction with these, which were the Incra lock bars. Now, the stop that it comes with also has matching bars that lock into these at 1/32 of an inch increments. So if you put this, let's say, at 8 3/32 and lock it in place, you know your cut's going to be made at 8 3/32. Looking at the stop a little closer, we're going to see some other things that are pretty cool. First of all, it's got this teeth on here that actually mesh into grooves that are in the extrusion of the fence. So when you flip this down, it actually locks in there, and let's say you've got a mitered piece that needs to go into that, it's not going to slip underneath that at all and gives you a really nice positive stop. Now you may have noticed that there's 2 arms on here connected with this metal bar. That's a very useful feature. So let's say you wanted to make one setup with this and actually make 2 different length cuts. All you do is loosen this bar up, move it back, lock it down, make the first cut, move that arm out of the way, move the piece up against this bar, and make the second cut. There's also a micro adjust feature on this fence, which is right here. All you need to do is loosen these 2 knobs that are on top here, and then this will actually help you dial in the perfect cut. The Mitre 1000 HD also comes with this handy quick reference angle chart for whenever you're cutting complex angles, or especially for cutting segmented turnings. You don't have to look anything up, it's all right on the protractor head. Let's go over a few features that you can find on all these miter gauges. First of all is the protractor head. All these indexable stops, these are all laser cut, so they're very, very precise, which gives you really good repeatability. The second thing is the glide lock miter bar. Now this is an example of what comes with most table saws. As you can see, it wiggles around inside that slot quite a bit. Now if you're looking for accuracy, this is not going to give you that. Now this is the V120, and this is right out of the box. I haven't done anything to it yet. And you can see there's some wiggle to this too, but we can correct that. All the glide lock miter bars come standard with these. And this is a plastic split ring, and there's a nut in there that uses an Allen key. This comes with it, and you just simply tighten these up until you eliminate all the slop that's inside the miter bar. Oh yeah, that's nice. So after a couple minutes of adjusting these washers, what I'm left with is a perfect fit inside this miter slot. There's absolutely no play in this at all, and it's got a really nice smooth action all the way through the miter slot. All Incra miter gauges also come with an adjustable fence mounting bracket. This ensures that the fence is always perpendicular to the table. All 3 that I received from Incra were perfect right out of the box. Now at any point in time, if this becomes out of alignment, there are some set screws here that allow you to tilt this forward or tilt it back to make sure that it always remains perpendicular to the table. Now I've got the glide lock miter bar set so there's no slop in the bar at all, and I know my fence is perpendicular to the table. I want to make sure that my fence is perpendicular to my blade for accurate cuts. So the first thing I do is I take my indexing pin and I put that in the 0 index slot, tighten that down, and also make sure my handle is tightened down. Then I can take a known square, put it against the fence, and put that up against the flat of the blade. Now I can see on this one, it's off just a little bit in this corner, so I need to make some adjustments, and that's where these 4 screws come in on the adjustable fence mounting bracket. So all I need to do is loosen these 4 screws up a little bit. Now I've loosened up those 4 screws in the adjustable fence mounting bracket, and I've got some play here. I can take my known good square, put it flat up against the blade, and just bring these 2 up until this meets, and I can see that it's perfectly square to the blade. And I can take the screwdriver and snug down these ones in the middle just a little bit, just to tighten it up just a little bit, and making sure I'm still square. I'm going to snug up the 2 outside ones. Again, just snug, not over tightening them at all. Now that I know that that's perfectly perpendicular to my blade, we can go ahead and make a couple test cuts with this. So here's the first test cut off the saw, and it's just perfect. I couldn't be happier with that. So from now on, all I have to do is set the angle gauge to the angle I want, and I know I'm going to get a perfect cut. Now I've added an auxiliary fence to this, which gives me a 0 clearance. It also shows me exactly where the blade is going to cut, and this side is going to help push the waste past the blade. One of the things I really like about the Mitre 1000 HD is the fence that comes with it. I mentioned before it's got a scale on top that works with the stop, and it has a scale that reads 1/32 of an inch. Now there's also a metric model available of this that'll give you resolution of 1 millimeter. Once you calibrate this and set it up correctly, it'll cut from 0 to 31 inches, very repeatable every time. So if you set it at 1 inch, go to 6 inches, come back at 1 inch, it's going to be exactly 1 inch. Let me show you how to calibrate this. It's very, very easy. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to slide this over till it reads 0 on the scale and lock it down. Then I'm going to move it up towards the blade. As you can see, I've got a little gap there. Then I'm going to take my micro adjust nut. I'm going to loosen these on top. Then I'll move a little bit closer. I'm just going to take my micro adjust until I just start kissing that blade. All right, there it is. That's what I'm looking for. So now I can take this lock nut here, lock down the micro adjust, and then lock this down. And that's all there is to it. In case you're wondering, you can put an auxiliary fence on the Mitre 1000 HD also. All you need to do is take the stop and move it from this track on the outside of the carriage to the inside of the carriage, and that gives you an extra 3/4 inch clearance underneath to put that auxiliary fence in. Now this is something I'm very excited to have in the shop. This is the Miter Express. You can take any miter gauge, drop it in this slot right here, and have a really effective, accurate crosscut sled. If you've got one of the Incra miter gauges and you've gone through the calibration process I showed you before, all the better. That's just going to make this more accurate and more repeatable. The assembly of this is very easy. Just like all Incra's products, the instructions are very, very well written, very good illustrations, very easy to put together. So there's 2 pieces that we're looking at here. First is the main sled assembly, then there's a cutoff tray. This has the same adjustable miter bar that all the other Incra products do, so that eliminates all the slop that there is to give you an accurate cut. So what you do is you take your miter gauge, you drop it in here, and then there's 3 concentric head bolts right here. And you just put it in and tighten this down. Now I've got those 3 concentric screws locking my miter gauge in place. I've got a really nice crosscut sled. One of the things I really like about this sled is its safety features. If you notice, there's a track here and a track here. And it also comes with this, which is a hold down, which fits into that track. So let's say I've got this piece of wood, which I don't know is maybe 5 inches or so, and I want to cut some off of here, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. Now I know exactly where it's going to cut because I've got the line right here. So I overhang it, let's say 1/2 inch. So to do this, I've got to hold it like this. My hands are very close to that blade, not very safe. You take this, and it simply slips into that track, and put it on here, and I can clamp that piece down. Now I know the piece is going to be held secure, and my hands are going to be far away from that blade when I make this cut. So it can cut small parts very safely with the included hold-down clamp. But what about crosscut capacity? That was a pretty small piece. If I pull this all the way back as far as it goes right now, I've got a crosscut capacity on this at almost 21 inches. I can actually go up to 24 inches simply by taking this miter gauge, unloosening these 3 concentric nuts here, and pulling the miter gauge back even further. So let's take a look at this. I've got a panel here. This is 17 inches. I can bring this all the way back and safely cut it with this. So as you can see, there's a lot of control for both small pieces and large pieces on the Miter Express. So whether you're looking for a budget-friendly accessory to an existing workstation or a highly accurate, very repeatable crosscut sled for your table saw, Incra has a solution for you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.